Welcome to February's reading recap. Here we go. Number 1, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I gave 3.5 out of 5. The prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy and President Snow's origin story. Giving it a 3.5 is being extremely generous. I hated this book at first and shelved it. Tried to finish it before the movie release and ran out of time. I ended up seeing the movie while still hating the book, but then I loved the movie, so I finished with more open eyes. I need to reread this. It takes us along Snow's young life, primarily the summer of being 18. He's orphaned and cares for his cousin and grandmam, working so hard in school to win the Plinth Prize. A huge money prize that could save his family, only the rules have changed and now he needs to also impress the Capitol by being a mentor in the Hunger Games. He falls in love with his tribute, and there's a betrayal causing him to leave her behind, and he gets the prize money, and that starts his journey towards the President Snow we see in the main trilogy. Sadly, I think the movie was a much better story. I am very against changing books for film, but it is better here. The book Coriolanus is so hateable right off the bat, like a sociopath, so I have no sympathy for him. But movie Coriolanus is lovable, and his circumstances kind of make him evil. I don't care for him in the book at all. I think I need to make a full video just comparing the two. Overall, I'd still recommend it if you read the original series. Number 2, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I gave 3.5 out of 5. I decided to reread this series, and dear Lord, I didn't realize how cringy this was. I also forgot a lot of the differences from book to movie, like Jacob's entry isn't even until the beach scene, and she doesn't even recognize him. If for some reason you don't already know, in this Bella moves to Forks to live with her dad. While there, she meets Edward, a vampire who doesn't feed on humans and falls in love. I thought this was so romantic as a teen, and now I'm wondering why they think they're in love. They don't even bond or get to know each other. It's like crushes that they're calling love, which makes sense for Bella because she's a literal teenager, but he's over a century old. What the fuck are you doing, Edward? Also, if someone was born when you were in your 90s, they are too young for you. It's so creepy how he brings up the age thing and everything he says comes straight from the fuckboy handbook. Oh, stay away from me. I'm no good for you. But wait, actually no. Kiss me. I love you. I'm so grossed out with myself that I ever thought this was romantic, but I still appreciate the nostalgia of it. Number 3, Where's Bowie by Kevin Robb. I gave 5 out of 5. This is a Where's Waldo style book, only instead of Waldo, Bowie is hidden around. There's a few versions of Bowie in each picture, and they include some of his friends as well. The end of the book includes some fun facts on Bowie that are a fun little bonus. I'd recommend this to any Bowie fan or someone trying to fluff up their 2024 reading count. Number 4, New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. I gave 3.5 out of 5. The sequel to Twilight. As a teen, I was Team Edward, but as an adult, I lean towards Jacob, but geez Louise, rereading this one made me realize I'm Team neither. They both suck. Edward worries that Bella being in his presence isn't safe, so he tells her that he doesn't want her anymore and leaves her in a forest. She rightfully falls apart, only seemingly getting better when she starts hanging out with Jacob a lot. Jacob knows she starts to rely on him to hold her together, and then he just bails on her too, and refuses to answer her calls. Both of these guys treat her like trash, and yes, she needs to take care of herself, but that's no excuse to mentally abuse a friend. Don't just ghost her like that. Just be there for her, damn it. This aggravates me so much. At least Jacob isn't gone for as long, and when he returns, he explains he only left because he had transitioned into a werewolf. Shitty excuse, but okay. But then Edward swoops back into her life and she just leaves Jacob. She wants to have both, but the werewolf and vampire war prevents them from allowing it. Miss Marvel Volume 2, Generation Y by G. Willow Wilson. I gave 4 out of 5. The point of this volume is supposed to be to not give up on the youth, and I get that, but also didn't enjoy that part of the plot. I did like this overall though. Kamala works with Wolverine to help him find missing teens, and she finds a giant teleporting dog. It's a fun read that I would recommend. Number 6, Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. I gave 3 out of 5. The third volume in the Twilight series. I had forgotten how assaulty this one is. Everyone is sharing their origin stories, and Jacob forces Bella to admit she has feelings for him. Even if you think you know how someone feels, don't force them to say it. No matter how sure you are, if that person doesn't want to accept it, then don't force it. Especially in this context where Bella is in a relationship with Edward and trying to stay friends with Jacob. He just keeps forcing it. This one definitely made me jump right back over to Team Edward, but I still vote for Team Neither. Some scenes in this are extremely triggering. Jacob forces a kiss on Bella and won't give her any room to escape. It's disgusting to read about his force and her desperation to get away, but she physically is unable to. Afterwards, she punches him and it breaks her hand, and I think that's a really sad representation of how often when women get raped, if they try to report it, they end up getting hurt more, while the monsters don't seem to get affected. Even when Jacob tells Bella's dad, Charlie, he gets kind of excited about it, and Charlie even tells her that Jacob is a good kid and to forgive him. That whole storyline just makes me want to puke. Later, he manipulates her and says he's going to take off and join a fight that will get him killed, so she kisses him to get him to stay, but even then, she describes how painful it is and how she feels like she has to. Back off, Jake. She has a boyfriend. She said no. Get off her dick. The movie ends with her convincing herself that she's in love with Jacob, but in love with Edward more. It's just really fucking sad considering how people these days act like the friend zone is the worst possible place to be and do this manipulative shit to get their way. And often people end up trying to make romantic relationships work just to keep their friendships. I don't like this storyline. I had forgotten how horrible this volume was. She ends up kind of sticking her ground though, at least, a little bit, and fully chooses Edward and plans to marry him, have sex with him, and then turn into a vampire. Number 7, And Another Thing, by Eon Coulter. I gave 1 out of 5. This is supposed to be book number 6 in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, but it's not written by Douglas Adams, and that feels disrespectful to me. I don't think people should be allowed to use other people's art without permission. They try writing in their style, and that just feels creepy to me. It feels like someone's fanfic. I do not recommend this. Number 8, The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner by Stephanie Meyer. I gave 3 out of 5. I could have gone without rereading this one. This comes between Eclipse and Breaking Dawn in the Twilight series, but focused on that little girl newborn from the attack that happened in Eclipse. It's definitely interesting as a first read if you're into Twilight, but a reread isn't necessary. It tells her story of being turned, trained, and tossed out to the slaughter for Victoria. I wish the OneWHORie had let her live. She seems sweet. Number 9, Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I gave 3 out of 5. I remember before this came out, there were rumors of it being from Edward's perspective, and some of that had gotten leaked, and when this finally came out, and I got to the chapter from Jacob's perspective, I was so pissed. Especially with his creepy mindset. The reread wasn't too awful. Bella and Edward get married, have sex, she gets pregnant with a half-vampire child, and Rosalie helps Bella fight for her survival. Because even though Bella has shown zero interest in children, suddenly she wants a demon child that is literally killing her at only 18 years old. The birth kills her, but Edward resurrects her with his venom, and now she's an annoying mommy vampire. Jacob meets the baby, Renesmee, and imprints, aka Wolfie falling in love, with the infant. Can you imagine if this series came out in 2024? That would not fly. The OneWHORie come to kill Renesmee, thinking she's an immortal child, but don't when they realize that's not the case. In the movie, they made this out to be a huge battle with Carlisle's head getting ripped off and everyone dying. And I remember leaning over to the person I had drugged there and going, that didn't happen in the book. This isn't in the book. And I was so mad. They end up realizing that Renesmee's age is rapid now, but quickly slows down, so she'll be 18 physically when she's about 4 actually. And I'm sure Jacob will immediately be taking her out when she's 4, as if the 100-year-old vampire with the teenager wasn't bad enough. Now we have a teenager with a newborn? Stephanie, you good? Why are you writing like this? Number 10, Dune by Frank Herbert. I gave 3 out of 5. I love the Dune series. I have vague memories of the older films. I love the newest ones, and I like the graphic novels, but for some reason I can't absorb the source material. I struggle reading adult sci-fi in general, but I've tried the physical and audio versions of this, and the only things I seem to absorb from them are that there's spice, and they really need some water. I'm gonna try this again, but for now, I'm just giving it a 3. Not sure if I'd recommend it yet, but sure, why not? Maybe you can understand it. That's it for February. As you can see, I'm very consistent, going from 42 books in January to 10 in February. I'm just happy to be reading. 3 of these were even on my astronomical physical to-read list. Happy reading, my little bookworms. I'll be back soon.